Hi, I'm Rachel McLeod, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker and emotional wellness coach and mental health therapist. And today I want to talk to you about, do you need to feel your feelings in order to heal and get rid of symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress? And that's what we're going to dive into today. And so here we go. The deal is that no, you don't need to feel your feelings in order to heal. And yes, it can be really helpful to feel your feelings if that's the way that you need to heal. But really, feeling your feelings is only one of multiple ways of working with your feelings. But let me tell you, the ultimate end result here is that you really need to process your feelings, process your emotions. And so that's a big difference than feeling your feelings. So if you imagine, like, goal is processing your emotions, right? Feeling your feelings is a little sub pocket under here. Um, and so it's one way that we can process emotions. And as a matter of fact, what I'd even say is that there's some processes under here that are bigger, that need to be addressed. And one is using the body's system for processing emotion, with through the attention pathways. And that means you pay attention to an emotion and you help your brain. That's what I teach. I teach people to intervene right there with some specific mind body interventions. You know, if you've been watching me, I teach people how to use emotional freedom techniques, thought field therapy, energy medicine, and EMDR to address and process emotions. And the method I primarily use is through attention plus intervention equals processing. And I'm heavy on that because I specialize in working with people with anxiety, depression, and trauma disorders. And my goal is always help them to remove those disorders into remission. And I have developed a process to do that, in as short as 2 to 6 months. So this is my gig, right? But really under here, the majority of the program I developed is using the attention plus intervention equals processing, and helping that processing is where the brain is really able to do its healing and upgrading work. And that part of the process doesn't usually require that much support in brains that are experiencing anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. But I teach attention plus intervention because those brains that are experiencing anxiety, depression, traumatic stress are that process of moving through its processing process is impaired. And we know that because one, trauma impairs that process, and two, we also know that because that's the symptoms that they're experiencing are results of that process being impaired. So as soon as we can get those symptoms through that process, all of a sudden that heals. The brain is able to heal and resolve symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. And it will make them if it can't. So if that process is impaired, you're going to get symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress out of there. And where most humans have some areas of our life where that process is just blocked up, if you have that process blocked up in most areas of your life, you're going to experience a mental illness called anxiety, depression, or traumatic stress disorder. That's not what they're called, but they fall into those categories of dysfunction. And that just shows that the brain is not able to move through its process in multiple areas of one's life. And to heal and get rid of symptoms, we need to get the brain, all the stuff that's back ordered now because it didn't get through the first time, all we got to get that stuff through the brain's healing process. And that means we got to get that stuff processed. Now, many people will tell you that you need to feel your feelings in order for that process to happen. And I would say that that is highly naive. And I don't mean any insult to anybody. I think that it's a great in theory. And there are some people that all they need to do is feel their feelings. But if you do any amount of trauma work and with any amount of variety of people, what you will find is there are people that cannot feel their feelings. As soon as they go into feeling their feelings, they go straight into a survival state And that's where they will faint. They will actually fall asleep. They will get tired on you. They will dissociate instantly. They will start fighting you, getting argumentative with you. They will start fawning all over you, and start people pleasing to you. And you're like, whoa, we're just trying to process the stuff here. But that they cannot come into contact with the feeling without shifting into a survival state. And when we shift into a survival state, there are two paths. There's the healing path and processing and survival. Once the survival is supposed to stay inactive, right? But once it is alert to danger in the system, and it's not a thinking center, so it's not sitting here thinking, okay, false alarm. No, anytime it gets the alert that there is danger, it will turn on and shut off the processing path. So you can't have both at the same time, right? And so if somebody is trying to try to use this path to get their um, uh, shame processed, and the shame comes up, and your survival system is hearing that the alarms are going off, the shame is actually alerting, is registered in the brain as pain. And if that pain is too intense, the survival system will open and the other one will close. So they will not get this processed if you ask this person to feel into their shame and they go into this instead, they're not going to heal. Right? So it's not true that you have to feel your feelings. And if it is true, that leaves a lot of people who are unable to heal and who are unwilling to heal, because many people understand this about themselves intuitively, and they're just the kind that say, I'm not going to therapy. They just want me to dredge back up all my stuff and feel my feelings, right? And I'm not doing it. And that's actually right. I don't want you to feel your feelings either right now. And so, but the good thing is that there's so many other ways to get your feelings, your emotions processed. And we do want to process your emotion. That is the most important piece to this whole process. Emotions are the most elemental component to all disorders and to all constructs. Mental constructs is emotion. And I could totally nerd out with you and why that is. And I'm writing something that is about this. And I'm trying not to nerd out too much there too. So, but emotion is the piece that can register in the brain as pain. And once the pain sensors go off, the survival system kicks on immediately to get you away from the pain. And some of the emotion that is coming up that needs to be processed will register in your brain as too high of pain to be registered. And every time it comes up, it will shift you into a survival state. And you will do this for the rest of your life if we don't get this pain processed. But if we get this pain processed, you get rid of all the symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress that come from this guy. So huge opportunity right here. And some of you will not be able to feel the emotion in there and still have your healing pathways open. Okay. And so there are other ways. I want to talk more about some other things, but okay, let's stay focused. There are other ways to process this emotion. And I'm going to talk about the attention pathways right now. Okay. Disciplining myself. In the attention pathways, you can, there's so much you can do here. You can draw the emotion, you can paint the emotion, you can journal the emotion, you can dance the emotion, you can move the emotion, you can rock with the emotion, you can shake with the emotion. You can talk about the emotion, you can do rituals with the emotions. There's like moon rituals, right? You can do that stuff with the emotions. You are attentioning the emotion, your feelings. Now, if you have an anxiety, depression, trauma disorder, this likely isn't going to be enough support for your brain. Anytime we attention an emotion or anything for that matter, we are starting the healing process. We are intentionally activating the healing process. But if your healing process is impaired, this is going to create problems for you. You're going to activate something that doesn't work, right? So you're activating, you're pushing it, and then there's like a pile up behind you, and there's car accident, like a train wreck in your brain somewhere, and it's doing this. We're trying to do the healing function, but we're not. And then this is alerts the survival system to we're under threat, because this train situation where you're trying to do this, get this healing pathway moved, is actually, it's registered as distress and a waste of resources and a threat to your survival on different levels. So you'll get a survival state there, right? So you're trying to do some healing work, and then survival state, it's a mess. So what I would say is attention. We want to start the healing process and then support it. And these interventions that I talked about earlier are really wonderful for supporting the brain do that, because then it will be able to keep everything moving through the healing process and get that emotion processed. Now, emotion is the building block of all the mental and all the material that you'll run into. It's the building blocks for your beliefs. It's the building blocks for the events that you've gone through. It's a fundamental building block of your subconscious programming, and it's the subconscious. It's the building block of all the clusters of stuff that make you run on a daily basis. And part of that's really great, because emotion is energy. And so it's really a form of energy that we're asking our brain to process, and it needs it. But if it doesn't, if it's too painful, it just won't be, your brain won't be able to do its work of converting that emotion into something usable and constructive for you. And that's so, so, so important. Okay, so as I was saying, yeah, I wanted to nerd out about the attentioning process here. So you can do multiple things with it. You can take your emotion and you can throw it to another continent. And if you get your intervention on, you will help your brain process that. Your brain probably in back there is like, yeah, get it away from there. Their survival system. It's like, get that away from us. And then I'm mimicking emotional freedom techniques. So it's the interventions. I gotta hook my brain up for us so I can say words. Emotional freedom techniques is the easiest of the interventions to use, and it's one of the least, takes the least amount of time and has the least amount of side effects. So even people with very little skill can really do big work with it. So I'm teaching that right now. I'm just mimicking that along the way, right? So you can pick up that emotion, throw it away from you, and use your intervention, and you will heal, because your brain knows exactly what you threw over there, right? So you attentioned something and you sent it, right? So your brain is paying attention, especially your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is like, oh, I like to play this game. Oh yeah, let me go get that. It's like you're playing fetch with your subconscious mind. This really works. I have a client who came to me with so many flashbacks. Gosh, so much trauma, so young, and they could not sleep, and they could not pay attention to their. They were very, very sensitive, and the very first thing we did together is we built a bomb. I didn't even know what was in her bomb. We built a bomb, and then I had them throw it up to their bedroom and use an intervention. And they watched the bomb explode in their bedroom. And then we met later, and they were able to sleep a little bit more. And we were off and running, right? We used that bomb repeatedly because it worked so well, and it kept getting us more and more ground, right? So we were paying attention to the fact that their room there was so many things happening in there, so many flashbacks. It represented danger to them, right? And so, but once we got their brain starting to process what's going on in their bedroom was safe, people. Finally, they had arrived at a safe place. So, but just all the flashbacks in there, the bomb was, we were playing a game with their subconscious, because your subconscious mind can do so much healing for you. But most people are like, well, I feel dumb. Uh, no, your subconscious mind is the mind that children have when they're sitting there playing with dinosaurs, and they're just having a good time with those dinosaurs. And they're, in their minds, they're in the great back and they're, I don't know what they're doing in there, but it's vivid, right? You can use that same process to attention your emotions. And that's really, really important that you understand that this is not just about feeling your feelings. That is one way to do it. And if you're somebody who can really tune into your feelings and cry, you're winning. But if you're somebody who can't tune in, can't cry, it can't feel their emotions, there's so many other things you can do to get healing. Okay. And the other thing I want to talk about is that this whole attention plus intervention equals processing. Um, that is what like 96% of my program is built upon. And in there, I teach from basic to very advanced strategies of attention plus intervention equals process. Okay, so that's really a major way we have really come to understand how the brain and body heals. Um, I accidentally bumped up into energy medicine, and as I started going in here, there was a total different paradigm shift. There was a lot of people were talking about, don't bring it up to their mind, and I'm like, why? What's wrong with that? You know? And I really was like, okay, you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. No one said there was anything wrong with that. They're just talking about don't do that because most energy medicine practitioners are not therapists. Uh, and so they keep people out of that. And, but so I was like, okay, tell me more. And there's this whole concept that the body has these other ways of processing emotion. And just like it has ways of processing food and whatever, it has the its own ways of processing emotion, that if you use those ways, you can totally bypass the attention feature of the healing process, right? So there's like this whole other avenue of healing and processing your emotions. So now I'm like, my eyes are like, tell me more. What's happening here? Because, right, as somebody who does trauma work with people and work on getting rid of symptoms of anxiety, depression, traumatic stress, I need to know this. I can't tell you how many clients I've had where we've had to do backflips because they couldn't cognitively, consciously touch with a 10-foot pole the emotion we needed to process. And so I was like, ooh, there are tricks. Tell me. Yeah, there are so many tricks. So as I don't know how much I'm going to tell you about this because I tried to plan this live before I went live and I kind of was tripping up around here. But through energy medicine, I have learned how to help brains and bodies process emotion without even using attention and intervention, which is phenomenal and a great, great tool. I've started integrating that with my process for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. Um, there are so many interventions in there that I've really tried to take the ones that create the biggest effect and put them at the right time when people really need them. And because I just think that that's just really powerful. Let me see. But what I want to tell you about that avenue is that it falls under the topic of, do you need to feel your feelings to heal? And the answer over there in energy medicine land is no. Uh, Word to the wise, I just want you to know that's a thing out there. And this is energy medicine is a style of work that's done on a massage table. Why I have one over there in this corner of my office. And it's a lot more touching. So I don't do this a whole lot with therapy clients, as much as I will have them do their own touching points, tapping points, holding, whatever is required. And I do teach people that. But it's a really cool thing if you can jump on a table of somebody's who's trained in this. Eden Energy Medicine is the one I'm familiar with and the one I'm so impressed with. And really have a way to process emotion. And I've found some of these ones are very helpful for men who need who don't want to be emotional but are totally fine with having some person hold points on them, right? Sometimes what I notice with men is that they need to see, women are like this too, but I have more men like this, the percentage of men, they need to see transformation to buy into it. And then sometimes they still feel too silly to keep doing it. But but these are really nice workarounds when you come to a place where you can't heal anymore, right? Sometimes we start out there and we want to process our emotion using EMDR, right? But sometimes that's too much emotion and the brain really won't process like that. Sometimes we're using tapping, and I've had a few people, this is a very low percentage, that just have had bad experiences with tapping, with emotional freedom techniques. Okay, fine, no problem. Let's try this one, and let's try this one, and let's try that one, until we can find the right fit. And sometimes, right, there's when we're working through the backlog of stuff that hasn't made it through the healing process, and we want to, because all of your updates and upgrades are in those things. This is, our brains make our maturity and our updates by processing our experiences. Sometimes the emotions in the experiences are too intense, so that emotion cannot make it through the brain's healing process and updating process. So when that happens, most of our updates and our upgrades and our maturity is actually back there. And so it is so important that we go get that and we bring it through and we walk it through. But because there's such a variety of things over there, some of these things can be felt. Some of these things will need to be processed in other ways, and some of these things are really perfect for energy medicine. And you don't know which ones they are, so it's really nice to have tools on set for when that's the case, right? So I just want to share that with you. I think that's really important that you understand that no, there is a way for you to heal, even if you cannot feel your feelings. Even if you're somebody who is repulsed by the idea of feeling your feelings or going swimming through the muck of your emotions, yeah, you don't need to do that. You're right. Most people are right all the time in these things. But sometimes we need to get creative about how. You're right, don't feel it. But what are you going to do? Right? You still need to process it. What are you going to do with that? Right? So, a note on energy medicine. I've been practicing it for 3 years. I am hopefully graduating this week as soon as my homework gets processed. Um, and I have as much, something has to prove itself to me in order for me to integrate it. And so energy medicine absolutely has proven itself to me in many ways. I have never used it entirely to move someone's anxiety disorder into remission, or depression or trauma disorder. I haven't gone all in to test it out, especially because I'm getting such great results with these other tools that I haven't used it entirely. But could it be done? Yes, I just want you to know. I think that it could be that you could move your whole disorder into remission with energy medicine, just like you could any of the other ones. So there's that. Um, I want to say something else on that note. But I've really found it to be so helpful. I've had a couple clients who were so sensitive, like one that had a panic disorder, and she couldn't think about panicking, or she'd panic. She couldn't connect with her body without panicking. And we couldn't use any tapping. We couldn't use emotional freedom techniques. We sure was not going to use EMDR. Even the thought made her eyes roll back in her head, which we were not going to do that. And a collarbone breathing one brought her into too much contact with breathing, which was a trigger to her. So we couldn't use that either. So I was like, it's time to pull out the energy medicine bag and see what fits in here. And sure enough, we got stuff moving using just energy medicine. And then from there, she switched over to, she was able to start using the collarbone breathing, and then thought, and then tapping emotional freedom techniques after that. So, but my point here is that there is a way for you to heal. And that's the great news. And if you want to feel your feelings, feel your feelings. If you want to walk your feelings, walk your feelings. If you want to throw your feelings on the other side of the country or into the ocean, do it. Use an intervention alongside that, and you'll see yourself get some massive transformation quickly. When you do this right, you will notice symptoms resolving very, very shortly. And I want to talk about this for a moment. Brains are electrical. When they are able to do their process, they do this at electric speed. Many of the symptoms that we're experiencing have very simple there's a word, very simple constructs. And when we get that construct at a simple enough level, the brain can just suck it through the healing process. Go, go. Sometimes things are more complex and need to be taken apart, and the brain has to get some help with separating them into categories. This is the emotion pile, this is the thought pile, this is the situation pile, whatever, and then moved through. But to resolve emotion in the moment can take anywhere from 2 to 10 minutes. This is really, really fast. We can process a traumatic event in 20 to 40 minutes, right? Some people have so many traumatic experiences that we have to do 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, and at a pace that's going to keep them functioning, right? Because it is something to hop through your traumas and process like that. But and then sometimes there's clusters, right, of subconscious programming that is made up of emotion and events and beliefs, and it can take us weeks to get through that, but it's really about weeks. This is not a year's thing. Brains heal this stuff so fast, and really the work here is to get the skills to learn how to work with these clusters and break them down into their components and get them through the healing process. And this is something that you can learn. And when you put all of this stuff together, you really can resolve your disorder finally in 2 to 6 months. So, and if you're interested in the process I developed, that is available on my website as an online self-study and as part of my 8-week intensive coaching program, where I walk you through each piece of this process. So if you're interested in that, I put that on my website. You can look at all that there and get going. But let me tell you what, if you're interested in just learning the interventions and seeing if they work for you and seeing if you can get this stuff going for yourself so that you can resolve your panic attacks and your racing thoughts, and see if see if you can match it, try these interventions out and see if they match you, those are available on my Facebook group. I teach an intervention probably about once a month, and that's in there. And there's there's the 4 I teach regular, and then there's all these other ones that you can play with. See how your body responds, see if they help you process, see if they help you get results, and see what you can do. You know that if you get this right, you're going to be able to work through emotional distress in 2 to 10 minutes, right? And you can keep practicing till you get into that window. And then you can work on it with events and processing the emotion of stuff and stored memories and all the things that go into resolving your disorder. Give it a go. And so that's what I have to say. Are there any? Oh, 3 comments. Yay. Oh, yeah. Melissa's sharing this. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let me go through this. So she mentioned that Qigong is free energy medicine also. Yes, absolutely. A lot of this stuff is people have been practicing these things for a long time. Most of the tribal cultures have ways of processing emotion. And so Qigong is one of those that's time honored, and any intervention that we're working with, we want to work specifically with the survival system. That's the one blocking the process. And so when we want to interact with that part, it's important to speak its native language, and then it will hear you quickly. It will hear the messages that you're sending it because that's what it does. It hears pain, it hears pleasure, it hears comfort, it hears these things if you can use the body and send the messages. So Qigong is something that's using flow, using your body and movements and breathing to, and it's working. Your survival system's in there paying attention, like, oh, we're doing that thing that's safe. It's there's so many things that register to the survival system as safe, but you have to do them, right? You can't talk about doing them because that's talking is not the native language of your survival system. You actually want to use the body like Morse code, right? But not really. But there's we found that in testing the validity of emotional freedom techniques and thought field therapy, that we've done double blinds. I don't know about the constructs of studies and whatnot, but they've had people tap in different places, and then they had people tap on the meridian points, the end points or beginning points of the meridians. And the ones who tapped anywhere got the placebo effect benefits, which is real because the subconscious mind is powerful. And two, the people that tapped in specific places did get more and significant benefits. And I could go on with that, but I don't speak that nerd well enough to share that information more impressively than I just did. So, but I do want to impress upon you, there by study, there seems to be a massive difference between the which points you're using. So definitely learn the points. I give away a free tapping chart on my email list in the first email. So if you want to jump on there, you'll get access to that and you can download it and you'll have a chart with the tapping sequences on there. I wanted to say something else. Oh, we were talking about Qigong and I went off into the wilderness. But Qigong is great for this. Eden Energy Medicine has some aspects of that in it. But I've been meaning to dive down the Qigong hole for a little while, and I finally have the name of a practitioner in my area. So I think it's going to happen soon. But that's really it. That's it for me. Do you have any questions? Any concerns? Oh yeah, Melissa also posted for us the link to the Facebook group, which she did this in a way I don't even know how to do. She's a tech goddess. What can I say? I'm trying. I'm trying to wear the crown of tech goddessing, but anyway, that's it from me. I think I hope you got the message. If you have any questions about this, you want to argue with me, you want to say no, it's not like that, if you want to say wow, now I get it and I feel seen, leave a comment. I will respond to that. I am always responding to comments, and I want you to heal and I want you to get your questions answered, and yeah, let's do this. So I will see you later and have a great night. Bye.